Hey, Jen Maleka here, your functional diagnostic health coach and personal training expert. And this week we're talking about how eating fat actually helps you lose fat, as well as it helps with a ton of other things that we're going to talk about today. This is one of my favorite, all-time favorite myths to bust because I'm a huge fan of fat. I eat so much fat in my diet and I'm not fat, right? And I hear this all the time. Like, we have been fed such negative information from the media and the food industry about fat, and it's created this huge fear of fat in all of us. Fear that fat is going to make us fat, or fear that fat is going to increase cholesterol levels, or fear that fat is going to cause cancer or do all these terrible things to us. And fat is getting such a bad rap, and it's so not true. In fact, I've even had clients who transition over to a higher protein, high fat diet who eat red meat all the time, and as a result their cholesterol numbers actually come down. And that's because fat is so super essential in our body. When we eat good dietary fats, that fat is then used to basically balance our blood sugar levels, to reduce inflammation. It's used to build cells in our body, and those cells can help to create other systems and other things in our body. It's also used to keep our skin intact and actually help us maintain the elasticity of our skin, which prevents wrinkles and keeps us looking younger for longer, essentially. Also, fat is essential for certain vitamins. There's particular vitamins that are called fat soluble vitamins, and they can only be absorbed or utilized with the help of fat. So if we're constantly avoiding eating fat, then we're putting ourselves into a dietary fat drought, and we're basically starving all of these systems of our body from doing their job. And as a result, this throws everything out of whack or off balance, and it makes it harder for us to lose weight. It gives us more PMS, or ladies, it causes your PMS to get worse. It can contribute to anxiety and all other kinds of issues. And what is kind of the key component to all of this is that fat is super essential for our hormones. So all hormones need fat to actually work together or be made. For example, when you eat fats, nice saturated good types of fats, they're converted to cholesterols in the body and then LDLs, and then from there that creates hormones such as pregnenolone and progesterone and cortisol and testosterone and estrogens. So obviously we need those hormones, and if we're not eating fat, then we're not supplying our body with the right building blocks to create those hormones. It's like trying to build a house without a foundation, essentially. And on top of that, fat actually has more energy per gram than a protein or a carbohydrate does. So when I transitioned my diet over to a higher fat, high protein diet, my energy went up huge and big time, and it's where I feel satiated all the time. So fat is super essential. Now, where most people get confused is about what type of fat that they should be eating. So there's 4 basic types of fats. There's saturated fats, which primarily come from animal meats or products and dairy. Then you also have trans fats, which are usually in processed foods, or when you see on a label where it says hydrogenated oils. And then monounsaturated fats, which usually come from plant sources like avocados, olives, and almonds. And then you have polyunsaturated fats, which also come from some plant-based items such as corn and soy and sunflower, and then also from fish. So if you were to take a wild guess at what is the worst type of fat that you could be eating, what would you guess? Hopefully you would think trans fats, and you would be completely right, because trans fats are processed, and the hydrogenation part actually changes the molecular structure of the fat, which makes it harmful to our bodies. So those are the ones that you ultimately want to avoid. And the ones that you want to focus on consuming are the naturally occurring ones. Now, not all fats are created equal. We also have to look at quality. So when you're eating your fats, you want to make sure that they're from organic, clean sources, that are non-GMO. So that would be things like organic grass-fed types of meats and beef, or free-range chicken, or organic types of dairy products potentially. Also organic olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. Those are all great fats that you should be consuming in your diet and is necessary for daily intake. So you really want to look at that quality. And like, for example, for breakfast, I have at least 2 eggs almost every single day and a piece of bacon. On top of that, I add avocado into my smoothie, so I'm getting a big chunk of fat in my breakfast. And then for lunch, I typically have some fattier type of meat like chicken thighs or chicken wings, so the darker types of meat that have more fat associated with it. Or I'll have beef or pork or salmon, and with a mixture of vegetables, and the same thing for dinner. So my intake of fat on a daily basis is actually about 40% of my food intake, leaving a little bit for protein and a little bit for carbs, and that's where I feel my best. Now, not everybody is going to feel their best there, but I can guarantee you, if you've been avoiding fat and you've been dealing with fatigue or PMS or anxiety or struggling to lose weight, then that missing fat in your diet is probably one of those huge contributing factors. So my action item for you this week is to make sure that you're getting in some type of healthy fat with every single meal. That could be the healthy oil that you're cooking with. It could be putting almonds or some type of nuts or seeds on a salad or adding it to your meal. Or it could just be focusing on eating really high quality, good organic meats to get your fat in. And if you still feel confused about what kind of fats you should be eating, or what your diet should consist of in terms of fat, proteins, and carbs, then I'd love to help you out with that. You can go ahead and click on the link below, and you can schedule a free Ideal Health and Weight Discovery session where we can chat about dietary fat for 45 minutes to figure out what is the right exact amount and portion for you on a daily basis. So I hope you guys found this helpful, and I'll talk to you next Thursday.